Okay, that's cool. So let's get this all set up. And we're gonna okay. Alright, so that should all work now. Somehow that all worked. So I suppose that's what really matters here. Alright, ladies and germs, it's time to start. Alright, Mortal Empires.
I am Tyrion, heir of Anarion.
Go get my boy, Louis.
King of Bretonnia.
And normal, because I am a normie. And I'm not nearly skilled enough to do this on harder difficulties without losing my mind. Even on an SSD, this still takes a sweet time. Really hope they optimize some of this stuff on 3. I mean, ultimately, you can only do so much. This game does have a lot to load. But the turn rotation is definitely my biggest complaint. And there aren't many complaints with this game. It's actually very solid. I enjoy it thoroughly. Bretonnia, obviously my favorite faction. If anybody who's gamed with me in multiplayer, this is 50% of my games. Plays them, or I'll do Norse guys, Wood Elves, well, Arguelon specifically, then Wood Elves, then Norse after that, then the Silostra of the Vampire Pirates. I can't remember what her faction's called off the top of my head. But yeah, the Drowned, I think. Then Empire, then Lizardmen, then High Elves.
To you, benevolent Royak.
Not really into the
Blessed is your rule over
Greenskins or the Chaos factions. I'll hold over my
Lord, the Dukes of Bretonnia
tabletop
have
days.
resided under a chivalrous code for many years. Honor this.
King
So first what we're going to do is we're going to rush Marienburg in this turn. And basically we're going to kill that army. And then immediately try and lay siege to the capital here. So that is Stepo numero el uno.
The lady calls.
And so we're going to fight this battle out. It's going to be a lot of fighting it out. A, it gives you something to watch out of the turn rotation. B, it is very critical, especially in these early stages, to try and mitigate losses as possible, or as much as possible. And the auto-resolve does not seem to take certain things into account. Like this, I've made it through this fight once, only losing 7 men, But anytime I auto-resolve this fight, I lose like half my army. Because apparently I enjoy the auto-resolve enjoys face planting your artillery. Um, but, you know, it's whatever. It's an auto-resolve. That's the risk you take.
King Luen Leoncoeur.
They also have different things have certain weights in auto-resolve that I think is done intentionally. Like they intentionally misweight things to make you want to fight it out. Alright, so I'm actually going to... One thing we're going to try and do is get it so that these trebuchets are just barely in range while keeping the rest of our units out of range of their mortar cannon. That's fairly easily accomplished thanks to having a nice hill here. Okay, so this will allow me to open fire on them right away. Their mortar reaches... Looks like right up to that crest. So if I do something like this...
Spearmen at arms! For the lady!
And if you're wondering why am I putting my ranged out in front of my melee, it's so they can hit as soon as possible. Now we're going to put our cavalry, little sneaky snakes over there. And then use these guys to try and get to the artillery before it gets in range of our dudes. And that should pretty much be it. Alright. So we're going to start out super slow motion for the first part. And what we're really doing is get our initial targets. I'm going to try and see now. AI is a little predictable, and this is the only thing I don't like about normies. Playing as a normie. And sometimes I will switch it up with hard to make their AI a little less predictably dumb. Because now their AI is... artillery sees these guys immediately in range, and so it takes its attention off. And so all you really gotta do is just watch it. The thing with mortars is they have a... See, there we go. Okay, now these guys are getting not so intelligent. Or not so dumb, but a little too late, because now they're going to try and get in range of my melee. Alright, so these guys are going to come out. Alright, so they're already perma-broken. So now we're just going to shift. We're actually going to retreat here because you know our guys becoming unfortunate casualties of our artillery strikes. Wow, this is actually... I've never seen them be this bad at it. Like, usually... I would have made a choice to charge one line or the other. Alright. So, tell these guys... Okay, back off. Just a moment. Okay. So we'll come back into here and we're actually gonna peasants start firing on them. Bring these guys back around. We're just going to finish those archers off. Use them to finish those guys off. Decharge those knights.
Peasant bowmen! We fight for Bretonnia! Swiftly!
Alright, so now we're going to send Louis out.
Ready for battle! Pegasus Knights!
I mean, it's all pretty much instant victory at this point.
Orders, my lord! Fail trebuchet!
Alright, we're going to need these guys to stop. We're starting to take a bit of damage.
Come unto me! Peasant bowmen!
Have these guys stop their firing. And there's the victory. And I think I actually may have suffered 0 casualties. This would be a first, but the enemy was being particularly derptastic, so you do what you gotta do on that one. Oh, I lost 1 unit. That is unfortunate. Wonder what unit casualtied. Probably one of the knights. After that charge, they may have taken enough to get a casualty. Oh. Still. That's going to make going into the next fight much easier. Because we're now going to go right in and siege Marienburg's capital. And thanks to having artillery, I can just go right into the battle mode and forego having to build any siege weaponry, and that's going to be very key because we want to take it and sit on a spell so that the orcs don't come in and try to take advantage of it. If we siege and build siege weapons, spend the 2 to 3 turns to do that, the orcs will build up. Meanwhile, Louis' army isn't getting any stronger, sitting there doing nothing. So that's the other big key thing here, is to try to do a rapid build. Alright, so we'll do that to recoup whatever loss was had.
You seek the lady's favor.
Alright, so now over here, and I always go this one first. It's just, I think, a good opener.
The lady's chosen.
And we are now in range of Marienburg proper, so we're going to hit it. And the auto resolves, pointing it heavily, or not heavily, but in their favor. Definitely going to fight it out and show the game the error of its ways. The key here is going to be to assail the walls as quick as possible with the Pegasi Knights, and then use the Lord, Louis, to siege the front door while using the trebuchet to generally go for the wall here. And that way, once he breaks through with a unit of spearmen and the damsel and starts the scrum at the gate, around that time, the trebuchet should have broken that wall, and then you just swoop the knights in, and once the Pegasi have wiped out a good amount of the wall defenders, I usually just pull them back and let the spearmen at arms, which should be climbing the wall at that point, continue the fight, and then bring Pegasi in from the back to get that nice rear charge. So we're actually going to put the trebuchets all the way over here, and the Pegasi here. Alright, we'll give our Knights of the Realm some cover, get them as close as possible. That way, once the walls are broken, they can get up as quick as possible. And do that.
Peasant bowman!
And then usually right after I charge the Knights of the Realm through, I'll bring in the Peasant Bowmen on that side. And that way if there's still anything going on, they can just come in from the side, get right up on the walls, and pelt from above. So, alright, magic isn't going to matter too much. She's usually not that strong anyway. At first, that initial buff's going to be good enough. So we'll start an deployment, start the battle. Alright, so let's hit pause. Send Louis up first. I use that because the missile resistance works against projectiles and these archers here. And we're going to have one spearman come to here. Have our archers go right there. And then we're going to have the Pegasi do their thing on the wall. Have the damsel run up with the men. And the Knights of the Realm just kind of have a coffee break. Talk about the greatness of being a Knight of the Realm. So the only thing you gotta be careful of using this strategy is the enemy will send the halberdiers up, try to fight you. So you gotta very quick on the draw to pull your units out as soon as that starts to happen. See, now they're up here. So now we're gonna actually do what I talked about, pull them out. So now we got the halberdier over there, so we're gonna try and do this. So once the spearmen begin to engage up on the wall, then I'll recharge in the Pegasi. First, we're gonna re-engage the crossbowmen just to get them broken. These Pegasus Knights seem to ignore their order repeatedly. So that's fine. Alright. So those archers should now not recover, so before they flee off the map, so we're going to pull the Pegasi back. Okay, so send these guys through. Give Louis a little pepper. Alright, so now send the knights through here. Alright, let's see if they actually obey this time. Okay, so now we're going to tell the catapults to stop firing.
Peasant bowman! Now Bretonnia! Post haste! My lord! To war!
gonna bring these guys down here.
We are ready. King of Bretonnia.
Alright, we're
Smite
gonna
them
use
by the lady.
face tank. And we're gonna get the knights out of here.
Swiftly. Full tilt.
Buff Louis again.
Spearmen at arms. Come at 'em. Honor the lady. At once.
So we're gonna just have them come here too.
Die! Die, fiends!
Now we're gonna put the Pegasus Knights behind and basically rear charge on the halberdiers and immediately pull out.
For the king!
We're gonna let the Knights of the Realm get in first. We'll use the Pegasus Knights to kind of.
Immediately!
Although I may have just screwed my charge up for my Knights of the Realm. It doesn't matter, they still got a good hit in. And that should get a route.
King Luan Leontern! Champion of the lady!
And there's the route. Unfortunately, Louis took quite a beating in this, more than I wanted him to, but that also, because he was face tanking, he was preventing a lot of potential casualties from the men. His spearmen took a hefty hit, but his knights came through pretty much unscathed, and so I think only losing 100 men, definitely worthwhile. Louis going to take some time to heal, but that's okay. He's a strong boy. And he'll eventually get a trait that just lets him naturally heal. So you can just kind of camp him, and it's really great because then at the beginning of the fight, while the enemy's closing distance, he'll sit there and his wounds will heal. The power of the Grail, the Lady Juice. Those that don't know the lore, he has been granted a gift by the lady, drank her water, and is now imbued with her holy power. Which I find it funny because supposedly he has like a golden mane. And you can't really see it because of everything he's wearing, but and when you drink from the Grail, you get like golden yellow hair and look all kind of semi-angelic. Alright, so we could sack it for a lot of money, which is really kind of nice, but again, our goal here was to take it, and sacking it will also get rid of your chivalry, which is a secondary currency for Bretonnia. For, well, not really a currency, but it's kind of like a goal, a score that Bretonnia needs to get some really good bonuses. So you want to try not to sacrifice that if you can. What's cool is you start here, it starts with the stables at rank 2, so you can immediately get a paladin here, which getting one of these early on is super helpful. So let's take a look at the options. We have speed plus 10%, melee attack plus 5, that's nice. Bonus versus large plus 8 is great. I might get that, and then he can do a lot of monster hunting. Yeah, we're going to start with Arnaud Gagne. So let's grab this guy.
Ready to serve.
And I love the new changes so that all paladin and lords for Bretonnia start mounted. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Alright, so I'm going to grab basic training here for that vigor loss reduction. because that's also really helpful, especially when you're fighting orcs, because they will endurance fight you if they can.
King Louis Leoncoeur.
Alright, so we're also going to do is get him a few Knights
I
Errant.
shall do what
These
I
are just,
can.
this is really just a temporary thing at the start. Alright, so we're going to do that and start with, I always start with the clay pit because it gets a little extra money. Now what I want to try to do in this game is actually see if I can take the Reichland before the game progresses too far in. And it just becomes near impossible. So normally one of my first moves is to trade with this guy and get some treaties going on with him, but I'm going to actually forego that because I want to take him out. I do want
Welcome to fair Bretonnia.
to get trade agreements with as many people as possible,
Fine.
especially your own
Welcome,
folks.
friends. Let's hope we can come to an accommodation.
So we're just going to cycle on through that.
I will.
So early game, what I want is to take the province of Marienburg, the Grey Mountains here, and the Reichland, and just have that as a nice power base.
Those seeking my counsel usually need dark
So she's gonna take a little bit of time. She
The
usually
lady
does.
grants you safe passage in these
So
lands.
trade with Bordelot for the moment.
Impossible.
I should be known. You big jerky dumb face.
Just so.
All right. So I don't think there's anybody else you could start trading with outside
What?
of.
Greetings on behalf of the
We can
Empire.
try this.
Now what brings
Start
so be
us
it.
off. Alright, so next thing I'd like to do is get a lord, another lord up and running. So we're gonna do Leonard Lancer, or we're gonna actually do Sweetbert. Sweetbert. Sorry, every time I say his name, I gotta do Ernie from Sesame Street. Alright, so we're gonna do him here. And we're gonna start him recruiting a couple extra archers.
Oh, yes.
And ultimately, he's gonna be back here recruiting while Louis is out here conquering. And he's gonna come in with a sub-army, because by the time you get Gorsel with Louis and come back, they've usually got a second stack up. And they're about 8 to 10 apiece deep. And so you're going to need both guys and the paladin you recruit here to quickly hit Grung Zint. Unfortunately, that's no longer the end of the Skull Smashers, because they now have mountain range here where they have the province of Massive Orcal. So they will all continue to come back and bite you in the rear end if you don't nip them in the bud. So once we've united this area, taken out the mountains, I'm going to come down here, hit Massive Orcal, and then move in on the Reichland. Only because if you leave them alone for too long, they will appear with a full stack and usually a half stack on top to give you trouble. So start with this, because the goal is here is the Confederation with all of your factions, as well as this is a really nice that they put this in here, is you get all these great diplomatic relation bonuses, which when chaos comes it'll be really easier. They almost become irrelevant, but early game those are super duper handy. So we're just going to get those as quick as possible.
Defender of the weak.
Alright, now sometimes I've seen Grungzin do something crazy and rush Marienburg to try and stop Louis from building. And if that happens, then I usually fight that army and then wipe out Grungzin, then come in here and take care of everything here in the meanwhile. In the solo game, I'll likely get the event that'll make me do it. That one that gives you minus 20 on rest if you're Bretonnia until you defeat an orc army. So we'll see. I've seen some strategy people actually let that go for a while and let it cause rebel armies to build up, because then you can just fast level your lords. Oh shoot, I forgot to make these guys take a vow. Not that it'll really matter, but The vow system, something new to Bretonnia for their lords and paladins, where they have to complete certain goals and then they rank up through their 3 vows. The lords, it's what lets them recruit the different knights with a reduced upkeep. The paladins just get some flat bonuses that still make them really, really awesome. My favorite is the 3rd and final one, makes them immortal essentially, saving you a point in the rank up from standard heroes. So, yeah, a little bit of point economy management there. Alright, we're just gonna go ahead and fast forward the turn rotation, because again, this is my biggest drawback to playing this game. Fortunately, it's almost twice as bad as the original one, because now you've got the new and old world factions to contend with, and that's the other thing that I always worry about when I'm trying to do this rush Marienburg plays. Sometimes Nordland will attempt to rush in there and take Gorsel, which then forces you to fight Nordland and Midland if you want the complete province, which is nice, because then if you take the complete province, you get that nice commandment bonus. So that's really good for Bretonnia to use to get their public order up to 100 in the province fast. Otherwise, it's much more of a pain. So we are going to have to deal with that by hoping we can get to Gorsel in 2 turns, and I hope that that's fast enough to beat Nordland to the punch. So we will find out. Other thing we get to contend with is, yeah, we are at war with 2 factions of the Norskins. I have yet to really see the scaling be an issue, because usually Norska takes them out and you just have to deal with Wolfric and his bunch. But potentially you have 2 coming at you. So getting Gorsel early and fortifying it in Marienburg proper is super handy. And yeah, there's the greenskin incursion event I was talking about. Now you can see they've got the 2 armies, which that army alone would be wiped out quickly to Louis, but they have this reinforcement, so if I were to fight it now, I'd have a heck of a battle on my hands. So we're actually going to let that sit and spin a tick. And we're going to recruit additional not really throwaway, but just some additional guys here.
The lion.
Alright.
The lady and my right.
Okay, so yeah, next turn,
Not likely.
finish off Marienburg,
Blessings of the lady be upon you.
and then swoop these guys down into Marienburg proper.
Highest.
Now I can actually go ahead and scrap that. We're going to turn that into a dye manufactory. Trying to get the economy rolling, because, yeah, as you can see, Bretonnia, due largely to the size of your starting army and the units comprised therein, does not start off making a whole bunch of money. So ramping up the econ is a great way to try to get an early foothold
My strength and wisdom are yours.
and kind of fortify yourself in preparation of the fighting to come. So we're going to wait on that. I believe that's going to be it for this turn, because nothing new is going to really happen diplomatically speaking. So we'll end this turn and do another wonderful turn rotation. Now, I've had a few people ask me why I like Bretonnia so much, and the answer is honestly the cavalry. You know, growing up, always a big fan of the stories of knights and paladins and, you know, the big cavalry charges and then the historic battles. All the times that cavalry charges really just completely turned the battle around. One of the coolest ones to watch, a historical like historical dramatizations. I don't know if that's the term, but you know, the movies based on historical events is when the like Polish hussars came in and broke the Turkish siege of Vienna in Austria. You just see all these horses just come out of the forest, and it's just a really cool. Watching the Lord of the Rings movies, my favorite was any scene with the Rohirrim of Rohan charging in. Just always liked it. Cavalry's cool, man. I had two fantasy armies, one for 40k, or one for Warhammer Fantasy, and one for War of the Ring. And it was a Bretonnia cavalry list and a Rohan cavalry list. I kind of in 40k, I went with the Tau for their crisis suits, which was, you know, basically futuristic cavalry. So, keeping to my roots. If it involves cavalry, I'm generally down for it. Alright. So not gonna do too terribly long tonight, probably just another hour. Just get the, set the table, so to speak. Alright. The nice thing is later in the game, as you confederate and other people confederate and consolidate, the rotation gets significantly trimmed. I just really also hate how there's now, you know, 8 on the tail from all of these rogue pirates. I really wish they had been combined to a single faction, but I'm guessing for AI purposes that
You seek counsel?
doesn't work so well.
Ride to glory!
Alright, we're going to do another fight battle. This one's going to be probably one of the easiest. They don't have any artillery, so I don't really have to hold back. I'm going to still take more losses, but with the paladin here, that'll help the fact that I've got an injured Louis. So Louis's not, you know, up to toe-to-toeing both of their lords, but now with the paladin on his side, you know, he can go up and give them the business. And that's what we're going to do. Give them the business. And that since I have artillery, they don't, I can let them come to me. So I also don't have to worry about being aggressive even though I'm on the attack. Because I can just pelt away at them until they charge. Okay, so yeah, you know what? I'm gonna gamble a little bit, see if we can't preen off a few extra. Oh, there we go. Few extra indeed. All right, start deployment.
King Luen Leoncoeur!
Let's just go ahead and get set up here.
Paladin of Bretonnia! Spearman at arms! Peasant foeman! Knights errant!
Alright, we're gonna keep our knights all off to the side here, so they can come in on the flanks. Oh, that's right. Forgot it was a garrison, so they actually are gonna just come as a group here. Well, that just seems a bit silly now. So we're gonna just quickly shift the facing of our line. We're actually gonna bring it all the way here. They're gonna split their army to go after the cavalry, which, based on what they're sending, they're only sending one anti-cavalry unit. They are sending their lord, though. That means I'm still gonna have to watch my engagement. Just make sure I don't stay engaged for too long. But we can. basically gonna do is we're gonna split off. And that way somebody's getting a backstrike bonus.
What do you beat? Moving a base. Put it. Ready for battle. Glory awaits.
I'm just kind of shoot these guys up a bit. All right. Okay, so we're gonna have this knight errant go here. This will go here. All right. Just do a quick engagement and then pull out. Other spearmen are utterly confused, so now they're just sitting there taking their lumps without retaliation. Alright, now that they're approaching our knights, we're gonna get all of our knight units away from them because they're still taking artillery fire, and that's not something we want our knights to become the unfortunate victims of. I've done that in plenty of games where I've accidentally shot my knights to pieces. Can't tell if they took some artillery damage or not, but alright, so we're gonna fly them all the way this way.
Riding out!
Alright, so we'll have them chase that guy down. Once they kill him, we'll have them focus on the other lord. Alright. Yep. Okay. So now we're gonna tell them to stop. So now we're just gonna get in and we're just gonna use cavalry to do most of the dirty work over here.
Bretonnia! Post haste! To my banner!
Alright.
For Bretonnia!
That's gonna take a bit more losses here. And that's a chain route, which is nice. And we've already already killed the only guy who could possibly flee, so there's no point, because you don't get any experience once the battle outcome is determined there. Any kills you get beyond that don't actually benefit you. So, we'll just go ahead and end the fight. And still happy with those results. Only 86 losses. All things considered, minimal. Most of them during the very brief scrum. So, definitely acceptable. I'll likely just consolidate the spearmen at arms and recruit new ones. It'll be faster than waiting for that heavily damaged unit to recharge. Better to just consolidate them in. None of them have ranked up, so I'm not really losing a unit veterancy. And hello to persons in the chat. See, we actually have somebody other than myself monitoring. Hurrah. Let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer. Alright. Battle over. We occupado. And we use this. Super duper help us. We're gonna flip to that.
Champion of the lady.
And alright, so with Louis, I actually like giving him the army buff line rather than his own personal line, because I like having him with a very strong army. Every other leader, I'll go down their personal line, just because for personality, you know, the lords are all about glorifying themselves. But Louis was known as the king of the people. The only exception I make is I do both of these top lines as well. So every so often I'll grab one of these up here in between leveling up all of this stuff.
My strength and wisdom are yours.
Okay, so we're gonna recruit a few more units with you.
Very well, if you insist.
You seek counsel? Who calls?
Then actually what we're gonna do is we're gonna recruit two more regular men-at-arms.
Stop that!
And the next turn, Louis is gonna hit the water and start making his way back. And we'll prep to push in to Grungzint and take them out. I do one final level up. And this will be done, and then I always go for Artois first, just so I can get a nice unity here, especially since the plan is to add these mountains in. That just keeps kind of everything all together. Makes it a little easier for planning trade routes and such, because then out here it outlets into Bastogne, and I think, well, actually Bastogne will border Artois. Either way, it allows me to trade with some of the more interior folk. I may actually also have Louis go to this mysterious island and see if we can't get him a little bit more stuff. Alright, so let's take a look. I think Carcassonne might be willing to non-aggression now. Yes, okay. And then that'll rank itself up over time and allow for a trade deal, because I think if we traded now, it'd be no. Yep, okay.
So, greetings on behalf of the Empire.
Let's see if we can't get any kind of trade deal with these guys.
I will.
Non-aggression for now, which, you know, that works too.
By Sigma's will, come in peace.
Not likely.
Okay. Wait for those guys to sweeten up a little bit to us. Not sure how they're going to feel once we fight their emperor, but, you know, whatevsies. Alright, ending the turn. doing our favorite turn rotation. Your favorite and mine not. Oh, da, 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 da. Alright, let's see if anybody's going to do anything interesting. Any craziness. I've had some interesting games where I'll be doing this and then for no reason someone over in Ulthuan will declare war and I'll never actually see them bring anything to bear across the waterways, and then like 8-9 turns later they'll want peace. I really wish I could see where in their scripting is the logic behind AI's decision to do things like wage war. Because a lot of times random factions will go to war for you and they have no strategic value. You'll be across the map from them, or they'll invite somebody in that's not even close to you and that they don't have good relations with. And it's just like, how did that happen? You know, what scripting event fired that up? But yeah, we'll see. I had Norska once call a dwarf in war with me, and that just blew my mind. It's just like I don't understand how or why. In fact, the only reason the dwarf's opinion of me was negative is because we were at war at that time. Otherwise, it would have been like an 8. Certainly not enough for any treaties, but shouldn't have been close enough to go to war with me over. But yeah, AI is the AI. They don't play by the same rules. If they did, they'd be even more screwed. Okay. I wonder if you can actually confederate the errantry factions. I'll have to give that a test. God, I want to kind of hunt those pirates down just to get them out of the game. Although I think they respawn, regrettably.
By the light of the lady,
I'll find out for sure.
King Lewin Leoncoeur.
Alright, so we're gonna get her Curse of the Midnight Wind. I use her mostly as a buff debuffer until she gets the Comet of Cassandra. Then I grab that for an attack spell, because that is just, the value of that spell cannot be overstated. Alright, so we're gonna grab stables.
King Lewin.
And then Louis is gonna go. And we are going to grab mushroom stew, shiny boots, and fresh recruits. Yeah, we want some mushroom stew. The wholesome fungi broth gives a boost to morale, movement, and army-wide regeneration. Alright, so get a little extra money and Mathland's Blessing. Ooh, that's nice. Physical resistance, that's definitely going to help fighting El Orcos.
My blade is ready.
In fact, I can
That is a good one.
go
I
to March
ride.
Stance and get there this turn.
Lord of
I
Bretonnia.
think I could send him into March Stance and also get him perfect. Alright, so we're going to get into position and get ready to charge in. So what I'm going to do real quick is make a little bit of a unit transfer here. 2, 3. Yeah, Louis is going to have a full unit, and then
Valiant Lord.
Sweetbert is going to be the backup play. Now that I've got a little extra dosh, I'm going to build this. Oh, I don't have enough dosh for that. Okay, fine. We'll upgrade that then, and we'll save up for the other one. And then I think that's it for this turn. Back to our favorite part of the game, the turn rota. of turns to watch. I think they've actually made some changes too, because I have noticed that the AI does not confederate as often as it used to. You used to get pops like every 2 to 3 turns of a faction here or there getting confederated. Now it's a lot fewer and farther between, which is kind of nice because then the AI doesn't overblob and get ridiculous, but at the same token, it means you get these long turn rotations being more constant rather than having it consolidate down. I like some games earlier on when the AI was confederating left and right. By like turn 100, there was maybe a dozen factions left, and it was just super quick by comparison. So we're gonna wait and see what happens here. I've also noticed, I think, that the easier the difficulty, the less likely it is to happen. I tried a game randomly on the insane difficulty, and it was back to the way I was used to, where like every 2-3 turns I got a notification that someone confetted. So yeah, gotta love it, or so they say. There's the Black Queen. Or Black Ocean. I still think that says Black Queen, and no matter how many times I see otherwise, it's still just, yeah. Okay, so got that, and true to form, I'm gonna go ahead and hit our toy up, or toit. And then we're gonna go ahead and kind of go into it and do this.
I shall prevail.
So we're gonna Louis to lock down the siege.
Ride to glory.
Have him encircle.
Guardian.
And then have Sweetbird on the braid.
Attack!
Come in here. This is kind of an exploit, so you know that's fine. But it's interesting that you can lock down a settlement with an army, and it can still reinforce you, but the settlement can't reinforce any armies you attack outside of it.
Striking out.
I would think, from a balance standpoint, that if you're locking down a settlement, your army can't reinforce any others. But hey,
My reputation.
that's how they want to play it. Fine by me. Alright, so Sweetbird, I think, also got the Seed of Rebirth, which is a nice regeneration. So, since Louis gets regeneration naturally on his own, I'm actually going to give this to Sweetbird. So now he's kind of like a little mini Louis.
Protector of the realm.
Now that we're done with that, we're actually going to go through with the attack. And this is going to be a very large battle. I don't have a very big front line, so it's going to be a lot of microing the cavalry for maximum effect. Basically trying to lock down armies with my cav units and then go in. Welcome to everybody currently watching the chat. Says users Apple Bad Apple, Commander Root, Karma Gaming TV, Lorx, and Stupid Francis. Well, welcome everybody. Is Bretonnia stronger than the Empire? Yes and no. So, at game start, Bretonnia has one of the strongest armies. You start with Louis, the damsel, 3 spearmen at arms, 2 archers, 2 of these knights, 2 Pegasus knights, 2 artillery. The Empire starts out with about 6 or 7 men. So their starting armies, Bretonnia is much stronger, but Bretonnia also starts at war with a whole bunch of people. So they're actually more surrounded, and the Empire really only starts with the Empire secessionists that they have to pick a fight with earlier on. It's also easier as the Empire because you are surrounded by counts, whereas with Bretonnia you've got Chaos, Orcs, Heinrich Kemmler, and Marienburg immediately nearby, and then you've got another Norska faction on top of that. And even if you wipe out the nearby orcs, now that they have a fallback base. So they do have an easier or a larger army. Difficulty-wise, though, I think the Empire is easier because they get bonuses that make it a lot easier for you to confederate people. Like, with Bretonnia, all the Confederation is locked behind technology. So you have to actually research if you want a chance at confederating your dudes. Whereas the Empire, it's purely diplomacy, and Karl Franz himself, the Emperor, gets a natural bonus to diplomacy, so it's even easier with him to confederate. Just put these guys here. The other thing the Empire gets over Bretonnia is Bretonnia has roughly 7 provinces, all with 2 holdings. The Empire has, I think, 8 provinces, and 3 of them have 4 holdings. So you can also get like hyper-developed provinces with the Empire, just based on the sheer amount of holdings, giving you a better variety of buildings. Or if you want to like quadruple up with income buildings, then you have a lot of income you can use. Like I can easily get the Reichland up to making me 4,000 or 5,000 a turn very quickly. Okay, so we are going. Let's go ahead and get this party started. I actually want to get these guys. Let's.
I am king.
Get you guys pulled back here.
Knights of the realm.
All right. All right. So we're gonna go slow to start. So oh, they're pulling back. Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna go up here, and they're gonna pull back a ways, which is, I guess they're gonna try to get out of the range of the artillery. Just makes a bit of sense. So we're gonna take that time to extend our own battle line a bit. They're gonna send their Goblin Wolf Riders this way, so we're actually gonna hit them. The Knights of the Realm. We're gonna get the Knights Errant in here.
Pegasus Knights. Write them down.
Alright, so let's see what happens with this. Alright. You guys are still just outside reach, so. These guys, however, are starting to get into reach, so hopefully. We're just going to use that little neat little keyboard shortcut to auto advance.
Immediately, Knights Errant.
Okay, so those Wolf Riders are down, which is good.
To victory.
We're gonna Aid the Knights Errant here in their little supercharge.
Awaiting orders. With haste. Swiftly.
We're actually gonna pull these guys back a bit. Okay, since these guys are actually sending a chunk of their army into my knights, let's focus them down. Alright, let's pull back out. And we want to pull out far enough so that we can then turn around and re-earn our charge bonus. We're going to slow time down a little bit. Take a look at the other line here. Oh my gosh. That's not good. Okay, that's cool though. NBD. Degroup these guys. We're actually going to send these Pegasi over here. Get these guys just a little farther out.
Swiftly. At once.
Alright, charge back in.
Ride them down. It shall be done. Hastily.
So their big problem here with the flank they've sent after my troops is they've only got one anti-large unit. I'll go back into that tactical view momentarily.
This is my rail.
Alright, so one of the neat things in Total War Warhammer is you can go into this kind of tactical overview and see things at a glance. It can help when you've got like a lot of obscuring terrain that might otherwise make it kind of difficult to see what's going on. Alright, so I by and large don't use it because unless you're fighting in forest where there's a lot of obscuring going on, I find that view far more distracting than helpful. Alright, so just like the other battle, we're going to set these guys to not chase, but also not to run should they get cornered there. And we're going to now send the Pegasi in to do some swoops. And so yeah, see, even their anti-large, because it's goblins, arguably one of the trashiest of the infantry units. They're not doing really anything to my knights. However, my knight's shock phase is probably ending soon. The shock boost, so we're going to pull them back out and do what's known as cycle charging. So we're going to cycle them out. Pegasi included. And we're going to split them up, that way somebody is going to be able to get a nice backstrike charge going on. And alright, so now enemy troops are all kind of very scattered. So we're going to try and finish them off. I'm going to actually try to boost my men-at-arms over here to Give them a bit of an edge.
Men at arms! Quickly, lads! At once!
Send Louis in to help Sweetbert.
Bretonnia! At
I'm gonna
once!
send the Paladin that way to help those guys. Check in on how the cavalry's doing. Get them charge in. I think we've got a chain route incoming. Yep, chain route. All right. Yeah, it really did backfire on them. I mean, if they had sent all of their goblins that way, that would have actually been a little bit more effective, or like all of their archers. But the fact that I caught their artillery out of position, immediately taking it out of the fight, was very helpful. I mean, lost almost nothing. Just because, yeah, they very much out of position themselves by sending a good clip to hit my much faster cav, which are already starting to get chevrons on them. So they've already got now boosts on top of the fact that, I mean, Pegasus are tier 4 units. And these guys are tier 3, I think. Tier 3 cavalry building. And these guys are tier 2, and those were all tier 1 units. So what that basically means is usually the tiers, you know, tier 2 units generally have better stats than their tier 1 counterparts. And then just the cycle charging. When cavalry charge, especially the Bretonnian cavalry, they get a boost to all their stats for a period of time. So by running them away and then throwing them back in, you get a lot more initial damage because they trample through the line, and constantly hitting them like that from multiple sides devastates their leadership, which, as you saw, caused that huge group to just kind of crumble. Alright, we're gonna occupy. Potion of speed, that's cool. Potion of healing on Sweetbert. Nice, now he's got, you know what, I'm actually going to, he's got the life seed, so I'm going to steal the potion of healing. Give it to the paladin. So now, a little bit of healing for everyone. Okay, so I just unlocked Crown of Bretonnia, which is nice. Gives everybody 5 leadership, which helps their morale stay a little bit more solid. I'm going to give her a boost to Curse of the Midnight Wind, so she can cast that more frequently. And this guy, I like giving the paladins training, assassinate, specialist, and then going down their personal line. That way when heroes start to pop up later, you can have your paladin leave your army and try to murder them. Training is great because at every turn, even if you're not in a fight, they're giving experience to the army, so you will just passively, they'll gain these experience and level up over time, which can be very helpful.
Do you know who I am?
Alright, Sweetbert, you're actually going to go back
Sallying forth!
this land so you're not taking attrition damage.
You seek the lady's favor.
Oh, you gained a 2nd level, did you? Well, alright. So then we're going to give you Blade Master. And with the Paladins, I basically do 1 down here, 1 up here, 1 down here, 1 up here. Curon is going to, we're going to upgrade this because I want to be able to get the shielded men-at-arms and spear men-at-arms to cycle out, so that way I have better anti-archers. And then we're going to give them this. I think this will be more useful early on, because my next target's going to be undead. The vampire counts don't have archery, so I don't really need the shielded infantry just yet.
King Lewin Leoncoeur.
So we're going to send next turn Sweetbert back here. Actually, we'll just...
Very well. If you
This turn,
insist.
we're going to park him here so these guys heal a little bit faster. Next turn, he's going to come up here and recruit 2 more units. So I'm going to give him another men-at-arms and another peasant bowman.
By the light of the lady.
4 turns, I can upgrade Languille.
The lion.
And by that time, I should be down here. And in 4 turns, I should be able to insta-confederate Artois. So, we're going to just keep chugging along at that. Might be able to trade with Fey Enchantress. Yes, I can. It's not a lot. If you saw that, it only gave me an extra 65 a turn. But hey, it's better than nothing.
Yes.
These guys, however,
Greetings,
seem to be a
neighbors.
little
How
more
fare the lands beyond?
amenable, so we're going to trade with them too. So, I believe... Oh, okay, I think actually... Yeah, so I'll be exporting these. So I'll gain an extra 622. They'll gain 222 from this.
Empire's blessing.
So
Yes.
we're definitely going to take that. It gives them more money than it gives me, but hey, it gives me a little bit.
Greetings, neighbors. How fare the lands beyond the great right?
Just a little dosh in the pocket. Never hurts. Okay, so... Okay, don't really have... I do... possibly, after I confederate Artois, I'm probably going to research the tech that gives me a positive opinion with the High Elves, just so I can start making nice with them. So they don't try to hit me up in the mid-game. Alright. And I'll play for about another half hour.
Protector of the realm.
Might get us to... or I'm going to fight these jerk wagons. Or maybe another, actually, an hour. Yeah, we'll give it an hour. And then I definitely need to call it for the day. Alright, so I'm going to kind of go through all these guys. And this will definitely be an interesting game. If I can take the Reichland and get this sweet, sweet 4 holding province, it will significantly boost my strength. And give me a nice foothold out here. So once Chaos shows, I have this as kind of a forward bastion. And normally I would say, you know, oh, I want to leave the Empire alive so he can hopefully help me fight Chaos. But in my experience, on any difficulty, the AI Empire usually just crumbles against them. So, I'll take it over. They could use a new dukedom. I just wish that Bretonnia had a unique building for taking Altdorf. But it's only got unique buildings there for Empire and Vampire counts. You hate Coast? Oh, the Pirate Coast? They could be really obnoxious. I always expect them to try to backdoor me in the mid to late game. And they always love running away. Tee-heeing their way across the ocean to the point where chasing them down becomes almost obnoxious. So, yeah, I usually just keep an army on my coastline, and that way if they attack, I beat them back, and I just do that until they peace out. I keep all my main armies up north fighting Norse guy. I try to make sure that by the time Chaos comes, most of the Norscan factions are wiped out, which really helps take the pressure off of the princes and Kislev and whatever dwarves in the north remain, because then Chaos doesn't have quite so many pets to call upon. The Vanaheimlings, though, I'm just waiting for their war declaration. It always happens. That's an inevitability. Alright, so Louis gained rank. Awesome.
Strength and honor.
So we'll go to leveling up. Yes, this is one of the ones I love. This gives him constant regeneration now. Alright, so we're going to come over here. Actually, no, we're not. We're gonna stop here because we're gonna send Sweetbert back.
Oh, yes.
Louis gonna take a turn to
Farewell,
heal.
champion
And
of the
Marienburg
lady.
just gets us a little closer to our end goal. Alright, so this turn, again, holding off on the shields for the moment to upgrade trade resources for that sweet,
Lord
sweet
of
trade money.
Bretonnia. Yes? Moving out.
Alright, so
I will indulge you.
one of each.
I am the blood of Gilles.
Okay. So then this. Yep, next turn everybody will pretty much be healed, and then I can just kind of go full tilt towards Kemmler's lands. Now, I try to get them as quick as possible, otherwise they wipe the dwarves out and dig in a bit. Unfortunately, my next plan after taking Blackstone Post is to hit Carrick-Siflin to unite the province. As much as it'd be nice to have a dwarf ally nearby, I would rather have the commandment to keep peace in that realm. And then what I usually do is mid-game, I'll switch all the control commandments for the ones that reduce construction cost and increase research time. Because Bretonnia costs are insane. I find them to be one of the most expensive factions as far as building upgrades goes. Especially late game. When you're spending 12 to 15,000 on a building. That's just crazy. Alright. Just got away. Ba, 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 ba. Let's speed this bad boy up a bit, shall we? Alright. Cycle through these guys. Through the bloody pirates. And then on to one of the shortest turns in history. I may not even wait for Sweetbert for reinforcements though. It would be nice for him to get some experience out of the fight, because I think I can just...
Who calls?
I might be able to make it next turn.
Spread the rot.
My strength and wisdom are yours.
Alright, so we're gonna move him up
It shall be so.
to catch up with Louis. And now we end the turn. How's it? Actually, let me Well, yeah, now we'll go ahead and start this process. Because by the time I'm done with them and the dwarves, I will want to start recruiting the shields. Because I'm going to hit the dwarves, go beat up Massive Oracle, and then I'll swing around and do a unit upgrade swap out before hitting the Empire. 'Cause the Empire are going to have plenty of range, so those shields are going to be key to saving my bacon. Alright. Let's see what these jerks do. He's gonna go in bed. I wonder if he's just gonna sit at Blackstone Post. Yeah, I think he knows what's coming. Can't say as I blame him. 'Cause it ain't gonna be pleasant. I'm probably going to do something similar to what I did with Marienburg and just charge in, not build up defenses, because otherwise I'm going to sit there eating vampiric corruption attrition, and I ain't about that life. Alright, go with these guys. Yeah, for single player especially, I really wish the turn roto was speedier. But sometimes it is nice to be able to, if you're trying to keep an eye on your lands, use that to see when an enemy's moving in on you. This early on, not a lot of land to look at. Doesn't matter too bad. But like once you've united all of Bretonnia, I usually keep this off and let the turn rotor go a little slower, so that way I don't get caught by an army coming out of the fog and then me not noticing it because I didn't bother to look around and see what changed. So we will wait and see. Okay. Round and round it goes. Bloody Wood Elves. Well, that is a faction I've never seen confederate as the AI. I mean, they're sort of, not even sort of, they are tech locked as well. It's a bit different than it is with Bretonnia. They have to unlock the ability to confederate, whereas Bretonnia, you're just unlocking confederating every faction individually, and ooh, that'll be handy. A little extra dash in the pocket each turn. Alright, so we're actually going to sack this. We're going to build this up for income.
You seek the lady's favor.
And we're going to declare war. No allies get involved.
The lady wills it.
Just gonna.
The lady and
Alright,
my
so
right.
we're gonna continue the
Cleanse
siege
our land.
and not hit them just yet, because what we want to do
Pious.
is
If the lady wills it.
we want to bring him in.
Very well, I go.
And I think I accidentally
The lady
trespassed.
grants you safe passage in these lands.
So we're gonna try to get
I
military
will.
access, because we don't want to get any trespass penalties here. And then we're gonna move him up.
I go thither.
Because now I've got an extra
Bretonnians,
lord and
attack!
5 extra infantry,
Smite them.
which doesn't do much on the auto resolve, which is fine, but It's definitely going to help us once we get into the fight, because it's going to put more mooks up on the walls. Much like with the Marienburg siege, again, we're going to hit with the Pegasi first. Unlike the Marienburg siege, they're probably not going to stay on as long, because the enemy's going to have, I think, better units out there, because I think the Cairn Wraiths can go on walls. I might be mistaken. It's been a hot minute, so we're going to find out. But again, we're going to put the artillery off to the side, sieging a side wall for our cavalry to then charge through and help kind of overwhelm the gate defenders. Now the disadvantage to fighting the vampire counts is when the undead break morale, they don't flee, they just begin to lose health rapidly, but they're still in the fight, causing casualties, so still kind of a pain. Dang, twice I've gambled and it has paid off in troves. Okay, so we're gonna knock the Pegasi all the way over to here. There's really nowhere to easily hide cavalry, so we're gonna just kind of have to stick them out in the open. Right here. And in fact, since we're doing the trebuchets here, we're gonna move these guys here. A couple times I've stupidly had my Pegasi attack and fly in front of the trebuchets and have the trebuchets just blow them to Kingdom Come. And it was literally, it was very devastating. And you lose like 3 or 4 Pegasi and watch them fall in midair to your own devices. A little demoralizing, that. Alright. We're gonna have Louis and the Paladin go to the wall with the damsel. Gonna have the infantry take the walls with the archers in support. Alright. So. And yeah, the Cairn Wraiths can in fact take the walls, so they're gonna be a little tough to crack. The rest are, I think, zombies. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually start with fighting the Cairn Wraiths. I'm gonna use that. Very similar strat beyond that, but we're actually this time gonna. Actually, I think what I want to do is have the Spearmen ascend from this side, and then we're gonna have those guys go there. Alright, Sweetbird's gonna come to the gate to support. And we're gonna bring those men-at-arms here. And bring the archers here. Now, these guys are gonna have decent physical defense, or resist, because I think they have, is it 80, 75%, yeah. So they're not gonna take a whole lot of damage from the Pegasi. Largely doing it, in fact, what I can do to help. This will help keep the Pegasi from taking too much damage, conversely. Because you can see they are getting through. The damage from the Pegasus Knights gets through, it's just, you know, not exactly the greatest.
We serve the king.
Alright, ladder's going down. They're putting their lord up, so that's gonna be a bit of trouble. Hitting their Cairn Wraiths early is definitely very helpful. I think we actually, did we already take one out? Or did they just retreat it? No, it's right here, okay. It's like I didn't see it get killed. I'm actually gonna see if we can't get some pot shots on the Hex Wraiths. See if we can't put a little damage on them. No, it doesn't look like it. Alright, so now what I want to do,
At once!
we're actually going to get the archers in the walls. Oh, that's perfect. Alright. Although, that did a number. Keeping my Pegasi on here. So we're going to pull the Pegasi out now.
Swiftly! Take the ground! With haste!
I think it's safe to say they have done their
Bretonnia!
duty and then some. I'm not going to take these spearmen and start trying to push into the wall. But, most importantly, we're going to send the cavalry in. Alright, now we're going to hit pause. 'Cause what I want from these guys is I want you guys to chill out now. You've done your job. Let's get this line in.
The true heart shall prevail.
Spearmen at arms! For the king! Men at arms! Climb in!
Alright, so they're going to help.
We serve our lead! Shift it! Noble knight!
Alright, send the shooter to Pegasi in to help the injured one. I didn't even see that was happening. That's not good for me. There we go. That very rapidly changed the course of this fight here. Okay, so these guys on the wall as well. These guys I want. Gonna start snapping into position there. Get these guys in a position here. Try to get these guys in. Alright, we're actually gonna have you spear up. Lance formation. More Cairn Wraiths coming in. Alright, we're gonna send some knights to back up the dudes at the entrance. Gonna start trying to push that entrance flank out. Try to keep him off our archers. Alright, cool.
My right!
Alright. Just gonna keep popping in.
I serve the lady.
Knights of Bretonnia! For the king!
Alright. So now we're gonna do this. We're gonna cycle them over here so they get to charge in and get a renewed charge bonus. And it opens these guys up. So now we've hit them from behind. The morale is going to crumble and their stats are just going to plummet. To help, we're going to add another attack defense debuff in case you're wondering what that does, is it hits them, or not a defense debuff, sorry, hits their armor and their melee attacks. They don't hit as well, and they don't absorb damage as easily. Alright, so these I'm not going to have fight anymore. They're way too injured for me to want to keep putting into the fight. So we're just going to let them rest.
Peasant bowman!
Get these peasants on the wall.
Orders, my lord!
Basically now we're just lining the wall with our peasants so they can shoot down from the height advantage that they now have.
Peasant bowman! Stay put! We serve our liege!
Get these guys on the wall.
King Lou and Leoncoeur! With speed!
Alright, Lou's broken free. So we're gonna give him a nice little speed boost.
This is my rail!
And have him go in. And we're gonna have the highly uninjured Pegasus Knights help him. Not that he really needs it, but it is nice. And then give them a little stat booster, you know. I'm gonna send Sweeper against the Hex Wraiths along with the Paladin. And we're pretty much just in, for all intents and purposes, mop up mode. Yep, there is the chain disintegrate. Decisive victory, but a costly one for my side because my elite units, some of my elite units took a brunt of the beating. Still, very, very minimal loss considering the enemy's number. I will definitely take that. Should be a lot easier to recuperate losses in preparation for hitting Carrick Stiflin. Which we will then, from there, descend south against Massive Oracle. They may even get Paravon, who's the far east Bretonnia Duke. I may get him to confederate through the tech. I'm just going to use the technologies to force confederations. I don't want to risk not confederating them right away and then diplomatically them not willing to ever do it. Because these AI like to raise a bunch of really super cheap armies and then just sit on them and not fight. And the AI will generally not confederate if they have a large enough army, especially in comparison to yours. So like if they have two armies full of trash tier, well to them that's still two full armies. So if you only have like three, well they don't think you're that much stronger than them. Or at least that's how I've interpreted it. I don't understand the actual background logic, but you know, whatever it is, it's there. Okay, so that's another backdoor thorn out of my side.
Very well, if you
So now
insist.
we'll go here. Level Buddy Boy up.
By the light of the lady.
Alright, nobody leveled up from Louis' stack, which is fine. But all of his stack is getting healed. Next turn I'll pull them away and have them heal in non-cursed lands so they can actually heal it for a decent number of troops. And
My axe thirsts for war.
Rorik's going to be a very tough nut to crack.
Wisdom of the land.
The dwarves are resilient little buggers. Should definitely make for an interesting game. Alright, so we're going to give him gates right off the bat. And then next, in 2 turns, we're going to upgrade Marienburg so we can get the Marienburg docks, which gives a nice 500 ducat boost. So it's gonna cost some money. So once we upgrade, we'll have to save up a bit, but it'll be fine. So that's gonna be the plan for next time. I think we're gonna call it here because this is a good stopping point. So I'm gonna save.